3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show coming to you on Power Talk. Thank you so much for making us part of your day today. Stay safe and stay in isolation if possible. But the only way I know how to inspire during these times is to connect with spirits whose frequencies are really elevated to the point where they're actually contributing to the process of raising the overall vibration of the universe. And I got a chance to speak to somebody today who does that on a myriad of levels, and I feel very, very humbled to be connected to her. Ksenia, Luki, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hi, Jake. Hi, everyone.
Hey, has rhythm always for you and sound been a healing force? And can you trace back the first time you can remember being healed by sound?
Well, I think it's always been a big and important part of my life since I guess I remember. But I guess as a healing tool, it came into my life about 5 years ago, where, it's those experiences where you feel physically, spiritually, emotionally, how it works and, where it goes, what it brings up. And, but I guess, maybe like 5 years ago, I really did feel like, it could be a very powerful healing instrument, whether it's through music, or just vibration, healing sessions, sound healing, or, songwriting. I guess it's relatively.
Like what was a definitive thing about the thing that happened 5 years ago? What was it?
Well, it was my first ceremony with grandmother with ayahuasca, and I've been a musician my entire life. I had long breaks from music for about I think 10 or 11 years, just kind of shutting down this part of me for a long time. And you probably, I don't know if you're familiar with ceremonies like this, but all of them are sound healing ceremonies. So it's basically, there's a musical element of a ceremony like this that is very important. And it can be traditional Icaros that come from South America, or it can be just medicine songs that people sing in ceremonies. And that was probably the time where, well, first of all, healing for me, because I was reconnecting with music, and experiencing sound on a different level, and the level of healing, when somebody sings a song and all of a sudden you go into your childhood trauma, and oh, wow, that's deep. So, that was, I think, my first ceremony. I think that opened this dimension of sound for me, sound in a new way of hearing, new way of singing, new way of perceiving, and healing side of sound.
It's fair to say that you had buried music for a long time in your life, and you re-engaged during that ceremony?
Yes, I did.
And so I'm curious about if you could talk to the audience. I just think it's important about the thought patterns that had been constructed in your mind, which put you away from your true nature of music and vibration, and then how ayahuasca broke you loose from those rigid thought patterns.
Oh, Jack, yeah. Well, I guess as growing up, all of us go through moments of judgment, right? Our evaluation by other people. So I started music. I started singing when I was about 6, and I went to music school when I was about 7. And it was sort of I think it's always been a love of my life and also a trauma of my life.
And most things are like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, brought up by I think I don't know, evaluations and judgments made by other people, integrated by me. For some people your voice is weak. For some people you're too loud. Some people say, or like, oh, you're cute, but you're never gonna do this, like I had a music teacher. She was teaching me piano when I was a kid, and she, I think she needed mental help, but unfortunately, she couldn't get it at the time in the
Unfortunately,
place
yeah.
where I was growing up, and but it was like every time I would go to a class with her, like I would shake, like I was afraid. I really wanted to do it, but just the thought of seeing her like would make me like, oh, I'm just gonna skip the class. But yeah, and
Oh man.
so I quit music school after 4 years of studying for many reasons, but including that one. And then, yeah, I started learning guitar and I started performing quite fast. But then again, it's just things like somebody says something that, or you're not gonna make it, or it's your voice is weak, or your voice is annoying, or something like this, and like as you're growing up, we still have like young brains that are it's like this neuroplasticity that is happening, right? We integrate a lot, we learn a lot from other people's experiences of us rather than from our own experiences. So, and that kind of made me around, I think, 16, I've had it. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to play again. Like, I don't think I want to do this. So I would play guitar and I would still practice and like learn songs. And I've always, like, I've been writing since like 13. But I
Hold
was
on.
doing this.
Let me ask you a question because this is really interesting. I mean, you're saying that you had no positive feedback in those years. I mean, everybody told you that you were.
Oh no, that's the thing I think of about the mind that is sort of
Mm-hmm.
how should I put it? We concentrate a lot more if
Mm-hmm.
we're not aware on something that's negative,
Uh
and you
huh.
can have this amazing positive feedback from from everyone else, but there's gonna be these three people that for whatever reason they didn't like what you were offering, and then we'll say, oh, you're awful, you should not be doing this, and that's something you will concentrate on, and but again, it's that young impressionate mind, I think, either maybe it's just my experience, but I think it's those patterns that are like, oh, they must know what they're talking about, all of these people who love my music and love me. Maybe they say this because they love me, but I mean,
No, it's true. You
there's
have. I mean, it's. You have to love yourself, and if you're insecure, just that one person is going to throw you off or thing, and That's happened to me many times too. It's a very normal thing to
yes.
succumb to that because all it is words, air, and yet you can't appreciate the gifts or what you bring to the table. Do you remember though being able to access your multidimensional self, uh, leaving your physical body, singing and playing music during your early years?
You mean growing up or
Meaning that
like
like
recently?
meaning that it was something like that you tapped into a spiritual frequency
Mm-hmm.
and that it was like this feeling of unconditional love or you that it was a space you wanted to be in
Mm-hmm.
and yet still people's criticisms told you shouldn't be doing this. Like was it beyond just like I guess here's the point. You were receiving a lot of information from people. Your voice is
Mm-hmm.
this, you can't do this, you're this, whatever. But inside, did you know that you had a divine connection to sonic frequency?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And did you actually leave your physical body?
Mm, I wouldn't say I did, but it was probably like I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Jake.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like when you're doing something so wonderful, something that you're connecting deeply on the soul level. Like every time I would like take my guitar and I would sit down with it, and an hour would pass like a second, and it's almost like this feeling of like I'm home, you know, I'm doing exactly what I should be doing right now at this very moment. And just in general, it's this, I always tell my clients, who come for healing sessions with me, that there should be something in life that takes you, it can be a hobby or something you can meditate on that makes you feel that, when you're in state of like, I'm just at home, I'm present, I'm fully committed to whatever I'm doing right now. And I'm like, it's almost like everything disappears and only this moment matters. Like you and your guitar, like you and your, I don't know, brush if you're drawing, something like this. But I wouldn't say that I don't remember experiences like leaving my body. Perhaps actually a lot of inspiration.
Well, no, you
Like
just answered the question. You just said it. When you are losing track of TikTok time, so that
yeah, certainly.
1 minute turns into 60 minutes and you didn't even know. That's you're out. You left.
Oh yeah.
You were gone.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. We have a game on this program called Name That Voice. I don't expect you to know who this is, but I want you to pay attention to the content, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Spiritual thing is basically when you're playing, and it's just not bebop. This is other music too, but bebop is in jazz is probably that's the high end of what we do as jazz musicians. But just the spirituality comes from it's like something. Now this may sound abstract, but it's something that Wayne Shorter said to me one time. He said that the only way you can really, really, really play is that you have to go to the store and buy some milk for your grandmother. And when he said that to me and the drummer, Omar Hakim, now he had a few drinks, a 3-year-old drink.
Right.
I said, wow. But a couple days later it hit me, because, it's like to come, if you have one of those kind of families, you go to see your grandmother, she just go to the store and get me some milk, and you go there, there's a love, there's a love for something other than just what you're looking at. It's like your own personal love, which could come from God, which could come from the force of life. It could be whatever it is that you think makes you tick.
Mm-hmm.
That if you tap into that, whatever that is, it's not a material. It's not the instrument. It's not the notes. It's the life force. And that is very, when you operate on that band, that's or on that frequency in life, that is very spiritual.
You want to take a guess at who that is?
I don't know, but it's very beautifully said. I'm very impressed.
Ksenia, that is so beautiful. It's kind of what you were talking about. That was, I don't know. Do you know Stanley Clark, the bass player?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll send you some stuff on him later. But he's a monster player, and
yeah,
and he is older than us, so he learned from the masters of the music, and so, Ksenia, I want you to talk about how you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to give love, that unconditional love when you are doing a healing session or a session with your if you're performing, how you are vulnerable enough to give it off, and do you still feel that you have to be more vulnerable to receive love?
It's an interesting question. I think it's a question of balance. Well, I feel like we can only give what we have, and
Of course.
love should, I don't know how familiar with chakra system, but the heart chakra, it goes both ways. It's like a funnel. So it's like it goes in and out,
Yes.
So this flow of love should, it's like it generates, it goes in and out all the time. But I feel like in terms of like vulnerability, it's the desire to share. It's the desire to contribute. And for me, for example, when I write a song, a lot of the times when I start, it starts with my personal experience. I'm going through something. I'm trying to break through something. I'm working through a pattern, or I'm having a breakup. And I don't know if it's an empathy or whatever it is. But when I'm writing, I'm always thinking about, like, what would I say to a person who's going through the same thing as I am? How can I help them?
Right.
And I think it's a desire and, to be of service from capital S, through everything that I do, through the healing work that I offer, through music, desire to help. However, another part of your question, and is it easy for me to receive? I don't think so.
Yes.
I don't think it's easy. One of my students, I teach Reiki,
Yes.
and I always preach for self-work and self-care, but also go and see other people. You should be willing, and you should learn how to receive. And then one of my students asked me, like, how often do you receive Reiki? And I started laughing. I was like, not often, actually. It's hard. It's hard to, I don't know why. And I don't know why, because you learn to give, and it becomes your job,
Yes.
your everyday job, through
Yes.
everything you do.
Right.
And then it's almost like, oh no, I'm okay. Like, I can take care of myself. You guys do your own thing. I'll find ways to take care of myself. But I've been working on this. I actually, one of my students told me, she said, healers need healers. And I was like, wow, it's so simple and so true.
It's very true. I mean, your aura is very strong, but if you continue to cultivate being vulnerable and receiving not just Reiki but other forms of love,
Yeah.
then your aura will grow so to the point of very, very beyond bright. But I wonder, like,
Yeah.
going back to ayahuasca, it's just really funny because the woman, my guest that came on before, was talking about. I asked her if she did ayahuasca, and she said she went to South America somewhere, Ecuador, and wound up with like this guy who sort of had this sort of, was planting trees, medicinal trees, and so there was a focus on the environment. But he was basically seducing most of his clients, and so
Oh, wow.
she got out of there,
Yeah.
and actually took a couple of people with her. That was the first. That was revelatory, but also not necessarily unheard of. But for you,
Yeah.
when you were drinking and you had to sit in the mess, right? I mean, you had to recognize what fundamentally broke open your skull about ayahuasca, and how are you a different person today?
Oof. Well, first of all, the story of your previous,
Guest, yes, guest,
guest,
yes.
yeah. I feel like there's a shadow side to everything, things that happen. And, I'm sorry that she had to go through this. What I did, I basically, through recommendation, I found somebody who I connected with, and it was a woman. And I felt safe going, because I also, before, I was looking for a place to sit with the mother, but I couldn't find anybody I would be like, oh, this is the person I am trusting to do this, because, I mean, it's a very vulnerable state, you kind of, you need to trust the facilitator
Absolutely,
of this event.
absolutely, yes, trust.
Because, yeah.
Because you have to, there will be conflict within the experience, and you have to resolve the
Absolutely.
conflict in order to have trust, so
Yeah,
it's important.
you need to feel that you are in good hands.
Right.
You need to feel safe, and you need to feel like you can be fully open, because the question of vulnerability is like, how far are you willing to go with it? How far are you willing to be vulnerable with yourself? How far are you willing to show that you are vulnerable to other people, like cry in front of people, who are sitting with you, or like go crazy for a
That's
moment,
right. Yes.
things like this happen. But in terms of like what cracked my skull open with ayahuasca, I just felt called. I felt calling, and I don't know why I wanted to go. I just knew that I had to be there, and I actually changed my plans. I had to go a month later, but I was like, I can't. This cannot wait. Like, this is important for me. Like, something is calling for my attention, and I need to work on it. And before that, I'm actually glad that I went to my first Vipassana retreat. So I came sort of prepared, if you familiar with Vipassana, it does take you quite deep in your meditation, So you start kind of looking deeply at layers of your mind, and how your mind plays this crazy games with you and just basically screws you over everything.
Yes.
I'm like, you're running my show. I want to be running my show. I want to produce this. So, and I went, and it was funny and interesting how I just felt like, oh, it's almost like a sense of like, I've heard the songs before, I've been here before, and I felt strangely comfortable. Like, it was almost like, oh, I received an invitation, and I am like from the spirit, or
Yeah, man, and
spirit
it
of
was
the
a past life. It was one of those things where you were familiar with something that you had actually never met, but it felt like completely familiar to you.
Yeah,
It's a
totally.
kind of past life experience. But I mean, what fell away for you? What was some of the what was some of your habitual nature that fell away? For instance, I received the Tao. Again, this is another conundrum, but not Taoism, but I'm a Tao cultivator.
Yeah.
And a lot of my habitual nature fell away when I started to really cultivate and like perception, people's perception of me, or how people viewed me, or in what I was doing. I was very steadfast and just continuing to bulldoze down, just be a force. I am a force. So, but a lot of that stuff used to hang me up, kind of like the way you were, right, as a young musician, that would hang you up. And I wonder, after ayahuasca, do you not really give a crap anymore about, did some of that stuff fall away? For me, in this time, fearlessness is not foolishness, but fearlessness is key.
Yeah.
And you strike me as somebody who is a very fearless person, but I believe the ayahuasca trip might have really helped that.
Well, it did. I sort of I had a contract that I had to sign, not that ceremony, but in ceremonies past that. But about my freedom, freedom of choice and responsibility of choice. And I am the one who makes the choice. And obviously, there are forces that I can't control, but I can control my choices.
Right.
And I can choose to be free, and I can choose to share. And sharing for me was not a learned pattern. Like, I'm actually growing up has always kept things inside. I didn't share much, like how I feel, my voice and stuff like that. So through that, I think I had to learn like freedom, freedom from past experiences, freedom from experiences of my parents, that I am not my parents. I'm a part of them, but I'm also a sovereign being that is allowed, and free to do to do my own choices, and to live in according to what I believe is true, and what I believe is true to my soul's purpose and my highest good, and who I want to be, what I want to do for work, stuff like that. It's basically, I think I'm learning a lot of things and like breaking patterns of, like, I don't know, I see change right now, change of learned experiences, I guess. And I remember the ceremony where, because I was kind of like keeping quiet and saying, because it's everybody's singing and I'm sort of shying, like I'm not no, I'm not singing. I'm just sitting, being quiet, maybe drumming a little bit, on my knee. And then I remember that I've always felt like there's been like this plug in my throat. Start singing, I was like, stop for a moment. I was like, oh, I should not be doing this. I think I'm distracting, should not be taking space, or maybe I am loud again. And I remember that ceremony, well, that plug just like it came out, and it came out through screaming. I actually had to
Wow,
scream
the
something.
cork came out of the bottle.
Yes, exactly. And I
Unbelievable.
screamed. And after that, like I remember I was spending time outside because I was like, oh, I was so loud, distracting people. And then that ceremony, I came back into the space that we were sitting in, and I started singing. And it felt so liberating, and I was like, ooh, finally, okay, we're back. It was like freedom, no fear, freedom.
Would you sing a song right now?
A song. Let me,
Or just a mantra or whatever you feel.
a mantra. I can sing a mantra.
Sure, whatever you want.
Let me tune in. Ah, Om Beser Sato Samaya Manupalaya Bezer Sato Tenapa Ishtadrito Me Pava Sutokayo Me Bawa Suposhairo Me Bawa Anurato Me Bawa Sarvasivi mem prayatsa sarva karma sutsame dittajriyam kuru ha 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 oh Bhagavan sarva tathagata bedharmam myutsa besi bhavam ha samaya satoha. It's a
I am smiling so big right now.
it's a 100 syllable Vajrasattva mantra,
Wow.
and it's a purification mantra, purification and protection. And we were talking about ceremony, and this is actually one of the mantras I learned from that very ceremony. And yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. If you need to, purify your spirit and you need some extra help, this is the mantra that has been helping me and singing it daily also.
Yeah, no, this is, was that something that, how much improvisation do you do in your performances with, as a sound healer? I mean, a lot of it, I don't know, maybe you have like spaces in LA where people come and lay down or like,
Yeah.
and then but like, it's really kind of like up to you. I mean, do you play the didgeridoo? Do you play like drums? I mean,
Yeah.
what kind of sonic palette is available at your sound? Do you have sound baths? That's the question.
Yeah, well, I do sound bath, and I also integrate sound into my healing sessions, into my Reiki sessions, vibration and sound. So I have so many instruments, Jake. I'm gonna send you a picture of how my studio looks
No,
like.
it's funny. My first book came out last November, and one of the guys, rest in peace, Emil Richards, he had like 750 ethnic percussive instruments. So
Oh wow,
no, but I also believe that you have a lot of instruments. So
that's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I use crystal bowls, obviously, Tibetan singing bowls. I just had some brass bowls shipped to me from Nepal. I have a whole bunch of chimes that I use for sound healing, swinging chimes, kosher chimes, tuning forks. I have my ngoni. It's a string instrument from Africa. I have my guitar. I have my handpans. What else do I have? I have a whole bunch of percussions, didgeridoo. I have flutes. I have
You have finger
Um,
cymbals?
say it again.
Finger cymbals, like
What are those?
like belly dancers. They used to shake them on their fingers, like in very odd
Oh
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I have those. I have Marilyn. I have a lot of string instruments.
What about percussion?
I do have percussion. I have drums. I have handpans. I have my one and only calabash that I love a lot, and I
Wow.
have my djembe. I have frame drums. I have medicine drum. I love percussion. I love rhythm. I'm
Yeah.
actually, yeah. It's been something new for me because I'm sort of always concentrated on string instruments. But last year I started drumming and I can't stop anymore. It's like
Yeah,
I was
because I
telling
mean,
you the same.
I mean, in order to get a gig, at least back in the day, in order to get a gig as a guitar player, you had to have good rhythm. So that
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
carries over right to the drum itself, and that to me, I mean, do you feel most at peace when you are playing, when you are no longer in your headspace? I mean, are you able in Reiki sessions? Obviously, it's a gig, but are you able to drop from your head to your heart to your soul as the practitioner, not the client? But are you able to access the
Oh,
soul?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just like playing a music gig, right? You're working with energy. I mean, you have your sales set playlist, but you still you're reading what's appropriate right now, And same here in healing sessions. You just kind of tune in into the energy of the room. You tune in into the energy of the process. If somebody is crying on my Reiki table, I'm not gonna, play something cheerful. I'm actually going to support
Yeah,
support
yeah.
this moment and like you're allowed, like let's you grieving, let's grieve, and then whenever it clears, like we can change the mood of our session with another instrument or another, maybe it's a digital music that's playing. But there's definitely, improvisation actually one of my most favorite things, just in general, like in music or, this kind of like it's moving with the flow, moving with, if you're playing with somebody, moving with other musicians, listening, what this person is offering. Can I contribute? And maybe I'm taking the lead right now. But when I do my healing sessions, it's also like you are co-creating something with somebody, because they came to you with their problem, or they came to you with their, I don't know, blocks or grievances, and you're working with this palette right now. It's almost like
Mm.
I can choose an instrument, or sometimes I'm like starting to play something, or starting with a playlist and think like, oh, this is not gonna go. This is it does not support the space. It does not contribute to the session that I'm having. I'm always talking, to my students when I teach sound healing for Reiki practitioners. And they walk in and they're like, "Oh my God, so many instruments! Did you play them all in the session?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I can plan so much. I can get a new set of tuning forks, and I'm gonna use all of them this today with this person." And then the session takes you completely different direction, and you're just playing one instrument. That's something that does support, like use an instrument in support of energy that is already happening and moving with that energy. So there's definitely a lot of improvisation. You're moving with how session is unfolding, or how somebody is opening up to you during the session. Or I can have a conversation with someone before I start my Reiki session,
Yes.
or and I'm like, I'm gonna start with the drum. We need to drum something out of you. We're gonna do some breath work. We're gonna
And this
do
is
some.
very wonderful. I mean, you're not a by the book. I mean, I don't. Luki, what is that name? What is that heritage? What is that? Where are you from?
Oh, Jake. Well, I was born in Russia.
You were born.
However,
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
born in Russia, born and raised. I do have quite a, history about this last name. So we still don't know where it came from. It's not an average Russian name. A lot of Luki families actually live in Odessa. It's Ukraine. So, but there's very few of people with this last name. So our
I think no.
grandfather,
I mean this is so beautiful. I mean I do want to ask you though. Did your parents recognize that you were a spirit being, or did they want you to just be like every other? Like they wanted you to. They shushed you. They didn't want you to talk. They didn't want to. Like they didn't let you be yourself.
uh, I wouldn't say so, but I definitely think that, growing up in a Russian family, growing up I was born in 1986, and it was the time of Soviet Union, and it fell, apart when I was growing up. So it was a very challenging time. So I think my parents were making best decisions that they could in the reality that I was growing up in, and basically, saying that like this music, whatever you want to do, like it's not going to support you, so you need to find something that will. So it's a decision of like, I was studying accounting, when I was in school, and then I went and I got my bachelor degree in communications. I have a degree in public relations.
Wow.
So it was something like, decisions were made according to the reality that we were growing up in. But my dad, it's interesting, because it was almost like I was always telling him, like, I want to do music. And he was like, you need to be an accountant to survive. But I recorded my album, and I released it, I think, 6 months ago or something. And I was, and I took him to the studio when we were recording, and I played a track "Grow" for him. And he's sitting down and he's listening, and I see him starting to feel like, I'm like, are you okay? How are you feeling? And he was like, I just can't believe this. I just can't believe this. I just can't believe this. And he kept repeating this, that this is all you. I can't believe this, And for a while, I understand that we're from such different realities, I kind of took this path of like, I'm going to do, what I actually want to do. Like, I want to do my healing work, and I want to do music, and I also want to combine them because it's one practice for me, but he couldn't understand what is it I'm doing.
I just think I think what he's thinking there is, I can't believe that I was partially responsible for creating this person who has exceeded me, has inspired me. He was in disbelief because and that, I mean, it's true, because the wall fell right when you were a baby, and then I wonder about like the imaginary world that you carved out amidst sort of the struggle. I mean, you didn't have an easy upbringing, but that adversity made you stronger. And where was the imaginary world for you?
Well, I was trying all sorts of stuff. I was trying crafts, I was trying music. I was drawing when I was a kid. So I would spend a lot of time by myself, honestly. And I would go, because we were growing up in a very small town. It's Chukotka Peninsula. So it's basically a piece of land in Russia that is like right across the water from Alaska. It's like 30 minutes in a helicopter to Alaska. So
Wow.
It's beautiful nature.
Wow.
Very small town. Both of my parents are geologists, so we were growing up in a community of like young professionals. It's a very safe place and beautiful nature. It's basically like growing up in Alaska.
Oh my God, that's insane.
So, yeah, I had an
that's so
amazing
nice.
childhood. Actually, I would go and like pick berries or like pick mushrooms, or like draw something. And my dad has always been into photography, so we would like have, photo sessions in picking berries, or, it's just, when I was growing up, actually, it was quite wonderful. So I would just spend a lot of time in nature, and I was always telling my dad, he's like, who do you want to be when you grow up? And I couldn't decide whether I want to be a doctor or an artist. And I guess, it was sort of a world that I was living in, just kind of, creating.
No, I mean,
observing,
I just sort of had this, when you said rough, like, I know that, like, I had this image of you in like the industrial section of like the ghettos of of some big city in Russia.
Oh no, not
You
at
know,
all. I had an
and you're like
amazing
climbing
childhood.
over like trash cans and bricks, and like you're making like your own like fantasy thing going on. But no,
Yeah, no.
this is
But
beautiful.
my parents did their best. But I
They
mean,
did, yeah.
generally, like in Russia of that time, like it was not easy. Like I mean, my dad would go hunting, so we have food, or because it's also a part of Russia that is not easily accessible, So we didn't have like a lot of vegetables, for example.
So he would go out and like shoot venison, deer, or
Yeah, like
this
venison.
is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, my mom had a garden,
Wow.
like little, how do you call it? This, I don't know, what's the name in English. Yeah, but she would like grow vegetables. We would have, it's funny, but I was growing up in this like instant potato Uncle Ben's that would like American Red Cross would give us.
Oh, Uncle Ben's, man. Holy cow.
Uncle Ben's, yeah.
I
It's
can't
funny too.
believe Uncle Ben's. That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, this is precious. I have one more name that voice. He tells a story, so just settle in and then come back and talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maharji sent me back from India. First, we sang to him in India. He was sitting there, and we sang to him. He liked that, so we did it. It was never a self-referential spiritual practice, a self-conscious spiritual practice. It was just a joyful experience, singing to him. He'd sit there and smile and laugh and throw fruit at us, So then he sent me home
Just
to
to be
America.
clear, he was singing like you were singing like raga.
Indian chant.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah. And then, so I started learning those chants in India, and I would sing a lot there because I liked to. Then he sent me back to America after 2.5 years. And then he left the body. Then he died before I could get back. And I was so crushed by that. I was so attached to him physically as being the only place, the only way I had ever been happy was when I was with him, in a certain kind of happiness that I thought it was over for me now, And he's gone, and that's it. I'll never be happy again. So I started to live in a very hopeless way. And a lot of things happened. I got involved with heavy drugs again. I was strung out on free days for about 1.5 years, 2 years at one point. And I didn't start singing to him again until 1994, which is 21 years after he died. Because I was standing in my room in New York, and I was really in bad shape, very unhappy, tremendous despair. And I walked into the living room, and I was struck like a lightning bolt with the understanding that if I did not sing with people, chant with people, I would never clean out the dark corners of my own heart. And of course, I intuitively understood that that was my only problem. That all my suffering was coming from this darkness and these shadows in my own heart. And that chanting was the only way that I had to do that. It was just a flash. And even then, it took me a few months to figure out how to start doing that. But that's why I sing. I don't sing to have bliss, to have joy. I sing to fucking live.
Ksenia, you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is?
I don't. No.
I'm not sure. Are you familiar with the chanter, kirtan chanter Krishna Das?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is
So,
that Krishna Das?
well, he that was my first interview with him
Oh.
from February of 2017, and it's one of the most amazing stories I've heard in my 1,500 radio interviews, because he said that I used to think that musicians were in the habit of seeking a state of bliss, playing music, especially when you talk about the flow state, especially when you're playing in a band outside of your Reiki work. He said, I don't sing for bliss. I sing to effing live.
Yeah.
And so I asked Ksenia Luki, do you play music for bliss, or do you do it to effing live?
So effing leave, my dear.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you, my dear. So I mean, if music was taken away, your soul would die. Would you?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I think my soul was dying when I wasn't singing, because I would always feel like something is missing, something is wrong. And right now, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you do have those moments, like you do sing for bliss, but mostly you sing because you can't not sing. Like if you don't sing, like something is wrong. I don't know. To me, also, I think it's my mechanism of like processing my emotions, and I am quite an emotional woman.
I like, yeah, you're very fire. You have a lot of fire in you.
Yes, I'm a Leo.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm a Pisces.
Yeah.
Pisces, always swimming upstream,
Yeah.
always swimming upstream, but then catching the jet stream and going all the way to the moon.
I see, my dear.
Yes.
Well, yeah. To me, it's if I need to release energy. I need to release it, and this is my tool of releasing and like processing emotions. So I don't know how not to do it. If there's a day where I can't, I don't know how it's gonna be for me. So yeah.
Did you? I guess can you talk a little bit about? Do you enjoy? Do you feel like you're comfortable fitting into a band? Do you play in bands right now? You have to excuse me. I'm not hip to your live musical.
Yeah. I have a collaborator, Josh Brill. So we do play a lot of gigs together, and I play also with a group of people. We released an album. I was very fortunate to be a part of the album called Bird Tribe. So we do play with them. I play with them. But yeah, I feel definitely like I love collaborations. I love supporting. I love when somebody just starts jamming on my songs. Like, this is amazing to me. Or creating harmonies on a song that I'm singing. I do. I love playing with other people, but I think it's also a recent thing for me. Feeling comfortable with that, also feeling that like, I can actually contribute also, and into the flow of somebody's musical flow. But yeah, I do enjoy it very much.
No, I was going to say, like, you maybe outside of some lessons, did you learn music by ear first before you learned to read it? Did you even read music?
I do. Well, I started singing very early, and then when I was 7, my mom took me to music school. So I was studying piano for 4 years, but then I just couldn't. I would always look at guitar, like, oh my, like this is what I actually want to play. And also my teacher is a little bit of a, she's really strange.
It's just ridiculous that you had to put up with that. That's so scary. I mean, it's like, it's just a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, but I never call myself a trained musician, because actually I'm not. Most of the instruments that I learned by myself. Like, when I was 13, I just decided that it's time for me to start playing guitar, and I was sitting down and just figuring it out.
Yeah,
I do read music. It's not something that I I do on daily basis, because most of the things it's just by ear. I just kind of train my ears, and my fingers to just kind of do what I need to do when figuring out music. But yeah,
You have your own tuning system. You have open tunings.
I play with open tuning sometimes. I actually, funny that you ask. I got this capo. It's
Right.
called a spider capo, where you can just mute some of the strings and basically hear different tunings. So I've been playing with that. Whenever I record with Josh, because Josh is he used to teach in Berkeley. He's a trained musician. He's just incredible, just brilliant musician. So at times he gives me some, music theory, you know, lessons when we record something or we play with tunings. And, he's like, here's the sound that we need. Okay, let's tune the instruments to that sound. Okay, how do we do it? So I'm very fortunate to have amazing musicians around me. So when I feel like I'm lacking in something, there's always somebody who's like, oh, I have a knowledge, or I know how to play this instrument, or I know how to do whatever it is I need to know or do. So
Do you have opportunities each week to play live? Do you have a steady gig live? Do you feel the need that you have to get stuff out of your system? And ultimately, when you make an album, so many cats today that there's not enough avenues or touring circuits to be able to let the songs actually take on a life of their own. And I just wonder if that even if it's more about putting together quality content, or do you wish to drive that and let the songs take on a life of their own?
Well, I'm not sure. It's interesting. I would love to play more live gigs. I do play maybe few, a month. Right now, obviously, it's not available, but I do travel with my music, and not too often, but it's interesting. We were sitting down in Thailand, and we're sitting down and eating, and my song starts to play in the place that we're having lunch, and I'm like, oh my God, this is my song. This is crazy.
No way. Are you
Hearing it on the other side of the world? And I mean, obviously, like I was traveling with Bird Tribe. We had a concert on Kopangan, and community of people know us there. So there's a lot of support, and like we're on playlists, and like it's just amazing how much people welcome us there. But just like sitting down and like hearing your song and go like, oh wow, cool. I want more of this, Obviously, like as every musician, I think I would want to share my music. However, I think for my genre of music, what I do for medicine music specifically, it's hard to play it, for example, in bars. Or I had this experience. We were playing somewhere in Topanga, and I was playing a song, and somebody was like sitting and like having lunch and like eating. People were eating. And I kept finding myself getting distracted. I was like, I don't think this is an atmosphere where, in which I want to offer my music. So I'm very, very specific about the gigs I take. It's the atmosphere is very important for me. So a lot of the times it's in, a format of a sound bath, or somewhere in a yoga studio,
I totally understand.
Like,
No, this is the key though, because I mean, when Cats used to, when Cats used to play at the Village Vanguard, and the espresso machine was banging, and the cups were banging, and people were, utensils were hitting people were having conversation. All those guys, you know what happens when it gets too loud? You play You play softer.
Yeah.
All right, so then that way people are, all of a sudden it gets down to a din, and then they're like, if you're really locked into to your delivery, then it's gonna, you dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, play quiet.
Yes,
Play quieter.
Yeah. Well, the way my mentor Tony talks about this, he says every time we do we do these concerts once in a few months, where community comes in, and like there's always an amazing light show, all the musicians from the community, offer their songs, and we basically have it in the form of ceremony. It is a ceremony, so we can offer cacao, for example, but it is accompanied by a concert. So we ask people that, if you want to socialize, there's going to be a moment where you can, but if when somebody's playing on stage, like, it's a ceremony, so be present,
Right,
stay
it's a
tuned
spiritual
with
thing.
the
Yeah,
song.
but I mean that it's hard to. You'd like that to develop organically, I mean, it's unfortunate that
Oh,
you have to,
absolutely.
I mean, to have to. Where is the one area that it's in the shadows of your heart, and you have to clear that away in order to grow as a person?
As a person, discipline.
What does that mean?
Discipline. I think more discipline. Everybody keeps saying you have so much discipline. I'm like, no, I actually
You know
don't.
what? I don't either. And it's really funny. John McLaughlin told me that discipline is the gateway to freedom. So I think, but in terms of consistency, in terms of doing like interpersonal stuff, like where do you I mean, my whole life force is connecting with spirits and pushing them out of their comfort zone. So my advice to you would be, you have to play. I mean, obviously, we're in an unprecedented time right now, but if and when we come out of it on the other side, you need to play live as every day. You need to play in a busking situation. You should be out there expressing yourself on a daily basis. And I also think that, well, I mean, I just wanted you to talk a little bit about, I guess, not so much dreams or aspirations, but I mean, what's an example of some kind of discipline that you have to work on? I mean, you pick up instruments you're self-taught, so you can play any song in any key. Like your ears are huge. It's like the world is your sound, oyster. You just have to go out. You have to put yourself out there more and be willing to fall and fail, but keep growing and getting constitutionally stronger and stronger and stronger. And I believe
Absolutely.
and I mean, I know you're already doing it, but you actually have to take it up now to another level.
Absolutely. And here's where discipline comes in.
Yes.
It's we actually we were planning a concert to play in April, and found a place, and my friends were generous. They have an amazing house. They're like, we should have a gathering to celebrate your album and play new stuff that people haven't heard yet. So yeah, so it was in the process of being organized. But in terms of discipline, I think that's exactly what you were talking about, just the discipline of making this decisions. Okay, I have a plan and I have my schedule, and here's what I'm doing tomorrow. The intention for this year, for me personally, and I don't know how it's going to go with the quarantine and all of that, is to start collaborating, and taking my, my talents and my offerings outside of my comfort zone, start playing with other people, recording more music, releasing more music, actively looking for opportunities to perform, and to share. Because I don't know, obviously, like, recorded music is amazing, but you were asking earlier about improvisation. When me and Josh play, we play, it's in the like, it's actually, I wouldn't call it a game, but we do improvise a lot. It's like, where is it gonna go now? So we kind of like, we joke about ourselves that we're a spiritual jam band.
Absolutely. No, that's it. You're a total spiritual jam band. It's unbelievable.
So, and I would like to there's a lot of opportunities in April. You know, we were gonna go to Miami for a tribal union gathering. It's like this festival that we were a community of my community were organizing. So we're gonna play there, and we're gonna go to Thailand and play in concert there again. You know, I was gonna play in Lucidity, you know, in one of the tea lounges, and I was so excited about this. I was like, finally, you know, things are happening. Like, I am going outside.
That's right.
You know, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's and discipline for me. I think it's again like making those plans, you know, and making those arrangements. And as I am like, you know, I am a owner of my practice, you know, my it's a healing practice, right? That goes really well. You know, I'm very busy with that. So sometimes I feel like I go into out of balance. I'm like, I'm doing this more, and I'm kind of pushing my music and my gigs, you know, a little bit on like a second plan. But
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you want to have children?
I do want to have children.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
It makes life very much more full, you know. But you feel like that is something that you can incorporate into your schedule now?
What, having kids?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I started seeing my kids in meditations a few years ago, and I made a pact with them. I was like, give me 3 years. 3 years. I need to figure this music thing out.
Wow.
And then.
That's not good. The music thing is the forever journey. You're not going to have it. It's never, it's going to, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I was like so into it. I was like, I'm recording an album. Like, I can't. So, but yes, I do want kids, and it's something that I've actually started thinking about just recently. You know, I think when I'm 33 now, I started thinking about this. I think when I turned 30, and if, you know, an amazing man comes into my life, that absolutely, you know, yes, I think it's going to be very wonderful to have kids.
Well, I think this has been a divine conversation, Ksenia, and I thank you for going there with me, and I look forward to if and when we can actually make human contact with people again, to come see you, play music,
Yes.
and be with you.
Oh, that would be a pleasure, Jake. Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation to talk. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's my honor, my friend. Just keep going, keep pushing yourself, my friend, and bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Long week of interviews. That's it for the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll see you tomorrow.